evening and welcome everybody to TNN's live coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck Series. It's been a beautiful, warm, sunny afternoon here in Santa Clarita, California. We're at the Saugus Speedway, but the weather is changing. Temperature could drop as much as 15 to 20 degrees tonight. That could drastically affect racing setup. Hello, I'm Glenn Jarrett, and we can't wait to get started. The first race the Super Truck Series had was at Phoenix, Arizona, a 1-mile speedway. Last week, they were on the high banks of Tucson Speedway, but tonight at Santa Clarita, it's different. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen.
They say the Brickyard in Indianapolis is one of the flattest racetracks around. Not a chance, it's more like Bristol compared to this place. They say the Martinsville racetrack has the flattest corners in the country. Not a chance, that's more like Talladega. You want flat, I mean flat as a pancake flat, you come to Santa Clarita, California and Saugus Speedway. Notice the air bubble in the middle of this level. This place is flat. It's an old rodeo arena that was eventually paved over, and as you can tell, it is the flattest racetrack in the country, Glenn.
And that brings up a couple of other points, namely what this flat racing surface will do to the trucks themselves and the competitors. To answer that question, let's ask our analyst, the newest member of the TNN Motorsports team, Larry McReynolds. Larry, what are these guys facing tonight?
Well, you know, Glenn, as I talked to a lot of the drivers during today's practice, they referred to this as the Martinsville of the Super Truck Series. They felt like that brakes was going to be a very big issue. The corners are so tight, the straightaways are so short, the brakes just never have a chance to cool down and get a rest. I think as far as handling, the trucks are going to struggle to turn in the middle of the corner. And when that happens, they use more brake to make the truck even turn better. I'm going to tell you, I can't wait for it to get started. You look at the first two Super Truck races of 1995, you didn't even know who was going to win the race till they come off the last corner of the last lap. Let's get started.
Let's take this opportunity for a quick commercial break, then we'll be right back with the starting lineup for tonight's Craftsman's 200. Don't go away, folks. This is going to be fun. We're back at the Saugus Speedway in Southern California. The Super Trucks are gridded and just about ready to go, but before they do, let's go back pit side with Ralph Shaheen.
He's won here at Saugus in Southwest Tour cars. He's won here in Winston West cars. Heck, he was even track champion here back in the late 80s, and he was the fastest truck in qualifying. He will, however, start 10th here tonight. What happened in qualifying?
Well, nothing. You know, Doug Richards and the guys just set the thing up to go the 200 laps. We weren't expecting to qualify fast time. We did what we had to do. I just got to say hi to Teresa and Diller and Lord. Had a couple friends back home that said real bad with his back, and Gus and Mary did well.
You know, I talked to Ron earlier about that fact, and he told me that when he used to race here on a weekly basis, they used to invert the field 24 positions, and he'd still win in just a 40-lap feature. So starting back here in 10th doesn't intimidate the Intimidator's driver.
Well, I don't imagine much intimidates Ron Hornaday at this place. He's had so much experience here. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineup, brought to you by Chevrolet. One automotive company has won more races over the last 30 years than anyone else, genuine Chevrolet. Starting on row one on the inside, the pole sitter, Mike Skinner, driving the GM Goodrich Chevrolet. He has one win this year at Phoenix. On the outside, Winston Cup veteran Jeff Bodine in the Exide Ford. In row two, another Winston Cup veteran, Ken Schrader in the AC Delco Chevrolet. On the outside of him, starting fourth, is P.J. Jones. He finished second last week in Tucson. In row three is Butch Miller, the reigning ASA champion. He's in the Ray Bestos Ford. On the outside of him, somewhat of a surprise, in a Dodge, Bob Keselowski. Starting in row four, Joe Ruttman in the Coca-Cola Ford. He's got a lot of experience in Southern California. And Toby Butler on the outside of row four. He's a former Northwest Series champion. He's also in a Ford.
Starting ninth in the Total Petroleum Chevrolet, number 6, Rick Corelli. Starting 10th will be last week's winner from Tucson in the RCCA Product Chevrolet, number 16, Ron Hornaday Jr. The sixth row will be made up by number 75, Bill Sedgwick in the Spears Motorsports Chevrolet, and number 06, Butch Gilliland in the Ultra Custom Wheels Ford. Going off 13th will be Troy Beebe in the Taco Bell Chevrolet, and going off 14th will be number 14, John Kender in the Street Motorsports Ford. Row 8 will be made up of Jack Sprague, currently second in the points, in St. John's Catholic Church Chevrolet, and number 37, Bob Strait, in a Target Expedition Ford. Starting 17th in a Rick Hendricks Chevrolet truck will be number 24, Scott Legacy, and going off 18th, off-road racing champion, number 20, Walker Evans.
Starting in row 10 in a Dodge, formerly driven by Joe Bessie, Mark Gibson. Mark crashed in practice early today but came back to qualify. Outside of row 10, Bob Walker in a Chevrolet. Starting in row 11, former Atlanta Falcons football coach Jerry Glanville. He's in a Ford. He'll be flanked by Kerry Teague of Concord, North Carolina. He's in a Chevrolet. And on the last row, Sammy Swindell in truck number 38, the Channel Lock Tools Ford. And starting last on the field, Jerry Churchill from Detroit, Michigan in the Churchill Motorsports Ford. That's the starting lineup, 24 trucks. Only 2 guys had to go home. Poncho Carter didn't make it, and also Mike Perlbert for 26 trucks here for a 24-car field. Let's look at the Craftsman 200 race analysis. The posted awards tonight, $148,800. As I said, there are 24 trucks starting. The distance of 200 laps, that's 66.6 miles. This is a 1/3 mile speedway. This is no race record yet because it's a brand new event. The track description, of course, this is an oval. We said it was a 1/3 of a mile. The banking, as it's officially listed, in turns 1 and 2 says 0. Turns 3 and 4 says 1 degree. You saw Ralph with his level out there. I think since the earthquake, Larry, this place is pretty flat.
I'm telling you, it's about as flat as they come, and it's going to be really interesting to see these guys starting in the outside groove, work hard to get to the bottom groove as the race starts.
You see truck number 6 there. That's Rick Corelli. He will have the in-truck cameras. There you see the face cam. That's the onboard camera. Corelli is starting 9th. We have 4 angles inside of Corelli's truck. Looking out the front windshield, that's you're seeing what Rick's going to see there. Looking out the side, sometimes we call this the doggy cam. I don't know if that's what we're going to call it tonight, but you see out the side and the rear view. You see who Rick has passed, what he's looking at in the rear view mirror. Larry, any final thoughts before the green flag drops here?
Well, again, these guys have got to remember they got 100 laps to run in this first segment. They're going to have to kind of take care of their tires, but they can't spend much time fooling around because the leaders will be back on the rear bumper before you even know it.
And you see with the Super Truck Series by Craftsman, we do have Dodge trucks. There are 11 Chevrolets, 10 Fords, pretty even split there, but 3 Dodges. And as I said, Bob Keselowski starting in 6th place on one of those Dodges. A little bit of a surprise, but Keselowski has been noted for his short track runnings, primarily an ARCA runner. Look for him to do well tonight. See the trucks taking the pace laps now. Mike Skinner flanking him with Jeff Bodine. Starting this race, Larry, where do you think you would want to be, inside or outside row?
Well, I'm sure that the guys in the outside row are going to work to get to the inside. They're really going to depend on their spotters just as soon as they can get them down.
Just about ready for the green. Mike Skinner brings them slowly through turns 3 and 4. As they're coming up toward us here. Looking for a good clean start, and the green flag is waving. And very quickly, Mike Skinner wastes no time in jumping to the lead, and Jeff Bodine wisely gets down to the inside. P.J. Jones hung out to the inside there. Boy, Skinner bolted away with about a 4-truck length lead, Larry.
What you're going to see here, I think, these guys probably started this first segment with their air pressure down low in their tires. It's going to take them just a little bit of time to get hooked up.
Great camera angle you saw there as the trucks come off on turn 4 and down the front stretch. Skinner continues to pick up distance on the 2nd place truck of Jeff Bodine. He really gets a bite off of those turns. Be interesting to see if he can continue that all night. Sometimes when a vehicle gets a bite like that early on, it goes away in a hurry.
I tell you, Goodyear has really brought a good tire here. This is a tire that the Winston Cup cars actually run at Martinsville the fall last year, and this tire has good staying power. It showed it today in practice.
There you see Ron Hornaday moving up on the back end of Bill Sedgwick. Now, Hornaday used to drive that number 75 truck. He tries to put a move on Sedgwick as they come off of 4 down the front stretch into turn 1, but Sedgwick closed the door on him.
It really kind of looks like the front trucks are content to stay where they're at right now and just kind of follow single file and let some laps wind down in this thing.
Well, and there's, as we said, there's not a whole lot of room to pass here. It really works the guy. You really have to be disciplined. Looking out the in-truck camera of Rick Corelli there, looking at the back end. You can see Bill Sedgwick really move up on him as he gets in the turn, but Corelli's able to pull away from him. You can see him right there starting to put distance on Sedgwick's truck.
Well, that's sometimes the price that a driver will pay by driving too deep in the corners. He can't quite get off the corner like he'd want to by going in too deep.
And out the front view of Corelli's truck, you see the Coca-Cola truck. That's driven by Joe Ruttman, and Corelli's able to stay pretty much right on his bumper, not trying to make a move. As you said, Larry, he looks like he's just content right now to bide his time and ride things out. Got a unique split view there. You can see out the front windshield of Corelli's truck as we watch him go around the track. I got a feeling that Corelli's not going to waste a whole lot of time. He's had a lot of experience on this racetrack. Back up front, you see Mike Skinner. Bodine looked like he tried to put a little bit of move on him there, but Skinner saw him coming and wasted no time and jumping back out to that 3 to 4 truck length lead.
Right now, they're really content to run in single file as they are, but it's only going to be a few laps before they catch those backpack runners, and that's when things will really dice up.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've been wondering about all day, folks, is what they're going to do when they get into traffic. And as Larry said, the leaders are starting to close in. on the last guys in the pack. Won't get a shot. You can see him right there going into turn one. Haven't run very many laps yet. Skinner's already moving in on that traffic. That's really going to change things.
You know, Glenn, as they move in on these lap cars, that's when they'll really have to work on the brakes and really going to have to maintain themselves to take care of them to make it through this entire event.
Once again, there you see P.J. Jones. Ooh, and he tags Ken Schrader in the AC Delco truck. Gets Schrader sideways between turns 1 and 2, but Schrader nailed the throttle and maintained his position, but looks like P.J.'s got the advantage now down on the inside.
Looks like Schrader's going to get hung on the outside there. There's Butch Miller trying to make a move on the inside.
Boy, those guys are right. And, oh, wow, it looks like that Schrader got into P.J. I don't think it was an intentional hit, but it spun P.J. around down in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Caution flag is flying. P.J. gets it righted. He will not lose a lap, but, boy, he lost a lot of valuable time.
I tell you, he'd worked so hard to get up where he was, and now he's lost all that track position. I'm telling you, track position is everything here at Saugus.
We're going to take another look at it. We'll get a view of it. There you see P.J. Jones going into turn 1 with Schrader right on his tail end, and he does get into him. Looks like maybe P.J. might have checked up just a little bit early. Schrader was going in the corner a little bit harder. I don't want to speculate and think that was any kind of payback.
I don't think so. He was in the outside groove, and I tell you, the outside groove just has not come in here yet.
All right, we're going to take a break from the action right now while they get things sorted out under the caution flag. We'll be right back with more from Saugus Speedway right after this. And the green flag has just flown again here at Saugus Speedway. You see Mike Skinner continuing to pace the field ahead of Jeff Bodine and Butch Miller. Now, while we're away, you see Ken Schrader there. He is way back at the tail end of the track. And as we look at him, he gets into truck number 51, Kerry Teague. It was absolutely incidental contact. Teague spins around. There is no caution. That's the yellow and red number 51. But as I was saying, Schrader was put back there by NASCAR. They felt like that incident with P.J. Jones was a payback. So Schrader was penalized, moved to the rear of the field. He got together with Kerry Teague there. He had no bone to pick with Kerry. I think they just got together as Ken was trying to get around him.
Well, you know what I'm sure NASCAR is saying here is, guys, I know you're going to beat and bang on this short track, but they wanted to show that they will use the penalty box here and send out a message early in the event.
And they didn't waste any time in picking on one of the sports better than did they?
No, they didn't.
You see the race leader, Mike Skinner, has already moved in. And once that slowdown came, when Kerry Teague slowed with that spin, he's moved up onto the back bumper of Jerry Churchill, trying to put Churchill a lap down. Now Churchill has the inside groove, and we see Skinner move around. Let's go back to racing in the pack. I'm sorry. Let's watch Hornaday. This is a battle for 6th place as Ron Hornaday is trying to pass the truck that he used to drive, now driven by Bill Sedgwick. The Sedgwick moves up, gives him a little bit of room there.
You know, Ron made a statement before the race. They set this truck up to run the long haul. Looks like he's moving up through the field just to see it playing.
And right in front of him, you see Rick Corelli moving around the lap truck with Kerry Teague. He also was on the outside, so they're already getting some rubber down in the outside group. They are able to pass out there, at least right now, while they're lapping cars. Trucks.
You know, when you look at Corelli and Hornaday and Sedgwick there, there's no telling how many laps those guys has got on this track.
Well, look at that great shot the in-truck camera has. Hornaday moves on the inside, and we've got another spin. You see the racing between Hornaday and Corelli there. We've got a truck that has spun down off of turn 4. That's truck number 14. That's John Kinder. Caution flag is out. You see the truck of number 14 there of Kinder. He spun. I did not see any contact. He didn't hit anything else. He just spun down to the inside. He has the truck underway again. Doesn't take much contact, Larry, on a flat surface like this to get a truck really out of shape, does it?
Well, you know, the trucks are almost sliding through the corners it is, and just takes a little bump, and it just sends them right on around.
You know, I talked with a lot of the guys about how loose they have to run the trucks, and they said it's a lot looser than they like to, but that's the only way they can get around here. We'll be back with more action. We'll be back for the restart. You see the top 5, Skinner, Bodine, Miller, Ruttman, and Hornaday. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back finally to Santa Clarita, California at Saugus Speedway. We had a little power problem, generator problem. We were down. We lost about 10, 12, 15 laps there, but the action has returned to green flag racing, and we're just now going under caution flag. Mike Skinner is still leading the race. Jeff Bodine still running second. See in third there was Butch Miller. 4th was Joe Ruttman. 5th, Ron Hornaday. 6th is Rick Corelli. 7th is Bill Sedgwick. Not too much changed, except while we were away, Rick Corelli, P.J. Jones made contact with the wall, had some damage to his truck. There you see the rear end of the number 1 truck. We've got a replay of when he came into the pits. This pit stop, or the crash, and the ensuing pit stop has cost PJ 5 laps. So he is 5 laps down. See the replay right there. Here's the way it happened in the pits. There, it looks primarily like just like sheet metal damage.
Looks like a lot of sheet metal damage. You know, they just wanted to make sure and get that sheet metal off the tires. And, you know, he's 4 laps down. I watched him make up about 3 at Tucson, so I wouldn't doubt him anything at all yet.
All right, we've got the top 10 after 45 laps. You see Mike Skinner, followed by Jeff Bodine, Butch Miller, Joe Ruttman, Ron Hornaday, and Rick Corelli. 7th is Bill Sedgwick. Butch Gilliland, good run for him in 8th. Toby Butler, truck number 21, is in 9th position, and Troy Beebe, truck number 89, rounding out the top 10. Continue to look at P.J. Jones making his way around the track under caution here. I don't know if it's going to damage his truck, if it didn't damage any stabilizer bars or not, Larry, about the way that it drives.
Well, obviously, with the tail dragging like that, he's lost a lot of rear downforce. If there's one place he could probably get away with that is on this size of a racetrack like Saugus.
Well, Ralph Shaheen has more on that story. Ralph?
Glenn, we talked with Leon Ruther, the crew chief for PJ, and they were concerned that they had bent up the frame just a hair. At this point, what PJ has radioed back into him is that everything is working fine with the truck and that it is strictly a cosmetic situation.
Well, that's certainly good for PJ and all his fans across the country. And if you saw the race last week, PJ Jones made up 3 laps to come back and finish 2nd. But that's going to be a tough chore to do tonight. We've got 1 to go now before we return to green flag racing. The light is off the top of the caution truck. We'll be back to green flag action here. We apologize once again for the power hit there. But things are back. We're ready to go racing again. Mike Skinner continues to lead. Skinner's been in a little bit of traffic so far, Larry. He hasn't had real problems working his way around the lap traffic on the outside. And here's the green flag. Mike Skinner quickly puts Kerry Teague a lap behind again. Teague continues to pull up as the rules allow him to do on restarts, but Mike Skinner obviously faster, keeps Kerry Teague 1 lap down. Again, we apologize for the power loss that we suffered a while ago. Again, we lost about 12 to 14 laps of green flag racing. But we are back underway once again. And as I said, Mike Skinner continues to set the pace. So far, Larry, nobody has been able to run with that number 3 truck.
Well, advantage he's got right now, Glenn, is on restarts. He controls the start of the race, and from 2nd on back has to deal with the lap trucks on the inside. But I've watched after every restart, and it's not long before that 2nd through 5th or 6th place truck kind of reels him in.
You see from inside Rick Corelli's truck once again, he's trying to move around the lap truck of Kerry Teague, truck number 51. And I tell you, with Teague on the inside there, he's holding his position just like he has a right to do, but man, it makes it tough on those guys trying to pass it.
It really does. The inside groove is definitely the way around this place, and until you can get down to that inside groove, it's tough to get around here.
And we've got another truck that is spun. That's truck number 30, Mark Gibson. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. He's going to race Skinner back, and Skinner's going to let him go. So Gibson has spun. Remember, you see some damage to the rear of the truck there, particularly on the left rear. He sustained that damage in a practice crash earlier this afternoon. So Mark was able to beat Mike Skinner back to the line, stayed in the lead lap. Good bit of sheet metal damage on the left side again from an earlier crash. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more action here from Saugus Speedway. Mike Skinner continues to lead, followed by Jeff Bodine. Stay tuned. Action is hot and heavy. We'll be back in a moment. And we're back now to green flag racing, but we've got a huge spin and a truck going down the backstretch. That's Hornaday you see there backing out. After a spin, there was a lot of contact made there between Rick Corelli. I saw it from the in-car camera. We've got another truck that's smoking heavily coming down the front stretch. You see Hornaday there making his way around. He seems to be okay.
Had a lot of fire under the P.J. Jones truck, but unfortunately it extinguished itself.
Boy, it did. I saw a lot of flames there. I thought it was coming from Kerry Teague. Kerry's truck is smoking heavily again. That's the 51 truck, but things were really jammed up on the restart there. We had just retaken the green flag, and the guys really got antsy going into the corner there, and we got to look at it here. Let's take a look and see if we can figure out exactly what did happen, Larry. See P.J. Jones there making his way around. He's got more damage to the back of that truck. A little smoke still coming out from under it. He pulls down to the inside. Looks like he's going to have somebody take a look at it. here we go. Well, we're back. We're still under caution here. This is after the caution had already flown. Here we go. You see Ron Hornaday gets a little wide right there, and Kerry Teague moves up underneath him, and Ron came back across the racetrack right in Teague's path. They touched. You see P.J. Jones, and looks like P.J. got hit from behind again. Yeah, you can see, looked like maybe Butch Gilliland in the 06 truck might have made contact with P.J. Jones' truck.
And he got in the back of Kerry Teague. There just was nowhere for him to go, and he couldn't get stopped quick enough.
It's never happened before on a flat, short racetrack.
Hey, this is Saturday night racing at its best.
Now let's go down to Ralph Shaheen, who's in the pits for a report.
Well, you can see the fluids pouring out of the bottom of Kerry Teague's truck, who was involved in that incident over here. We'll see if we can stick a mic in here. Kerry, can you tell me what happened out there?
I was all bunched up, and I guess Ron was on the outside there, and he got a little loose. And I was right up under him. He come back across the racetrack. I thought it was quarter pound. They just started piling up.
Looks like she's losing a lot of fluids underneath. Any idea what the problems are now?
Yeah, we knocked the oil cooler off of it. We're going to try and get another one back on and go back out and keep up in points.
So that's the problem for Kerry Teague. Just over here to his left, you'll see over my shoulder over here is John Kinder. Kinder's got a problem with his transmission leaking some fluids out of the bottom of that. So John's in the pits getting his 14 truck fixed as well.
And a lot of action going on in the pits here, and we're going to have a red flag situation. The trucks have been stopped. They're going to bring them on around and probably stop them on the backstretch. The whole track has oil on it. In fact, I can see the oil. You can see it as they exit the racetrack here to go into the pit, so I assume that probably came from Kerry Teague. You can see the safety truck there, Larry, putting out the oil dry now.
And this is really a good move by NASCAR. This is such a short racetrack. The time to run a caution lap is very short, and these people want to see some racing here tonight, so why not red flag it, get the track cleaned up where we can go back racing under green.
That's an excellent point, Larry. So far, 18 laps is the longest green flag run that we have had so far tonight.
You know, I'm sure that's discouraging to some of the front runners, because I watched Mike Skinner, Ron Hornaday, Joe Ruttman. They was making long 25, 30, 35 lap green runs today in practice trying to learn what the truck was going to do, and now the longest they've run is 18 laps after 65 laps of racing.
You're looking at P.J. Jones there. His truck is sitting down the inside of the racetrack. We're going to take a look. There is Ron Hornaday. We'll have a Hardee's driver profile brought to you by Hardee's. Get made from scratch biscuits, fresh from the kitchen at Hardee's. Ron Hornaday Jr. started his season off right with a Southwest Tour win at Phoenix in the Copper World Classic, seen live here on TNN. As his career blossoms, he must work under the shadow of one of the most famous names in motorsports, Dale Earnhardt. Now, as the season moves into high gear, Hornaday must strive for the consistency that makes his boss so successful. He took a giant steps toward that success with a dominating win last weekend in Tucson, capturing his first ever NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck win.
We're just looking for this series. The Super Truck Series is a great deal. You know, NASCAR came along and put this together, and being the third race and many trucks as we here have at Saugus, we'll go out there and do the best we can. We'll go through a whole season of this, and hopefully I can get into something bigger, better next year. I mean, this is the biggest it's going to be, and I think it's even going to grow next year. So we might have a 2-year contract with Dale as it is.
Well, Ron Hornaday was running in 5th position before that altercation with Kerry Teague. He is now way back in the back of the pack, so he's got his work cut out for him to try to move back up through the field. We'll monitor that as the cleanup activities continue here at Saugus Speedway. They're trying to get all the oil up. We'll let them get a little more work done, take a commercial break. We'll be right back to tell you what's going on. And the cleanup continues here at Saugus Speedway. And Larry, one reason that the cleanup is taking so long, we've just been informed we're only about 2 or 3 minutes away from a restart now, but that synthetic oil and its properties make it tougher to clean up.
It really does. It's a lot like trying to clean up water, you know. Obviously the synthetic oil is a good oil to run, and especially in these cool temperatures that's going on here tonight, but it's hard to clean up, and I want to tip my hat to these guys here at Saugus. They're going to the full extent to make this racing service back just as good as they can.
Well, they certainly are, and the cleanup truck has now started, the sweeping truck has now started around to hopefully to replace some of the broom power that the guys are using.
That's what's going to really be important, that the oil dry does absorb all of the oil, but then they do as good a job as possible in sweeping the excess oil dry out of the way.
And as you see that cleanup vehicle right there, now that's heavy duty cleanup.
I'm telling you, I wish we had that at some of the Winston Cup tracks.
Yeah. and that thing is right in the groove. There's a look at the full field. You see the trucks lined up there, the 21 of Toby Butler 06 Butch Gilliland. Once again, there is the top 10 after 63 of 200 laps. Mike Skinner, Jeff Bodine, Butch Miller, Joe Ruttman, and Rick Corelli. Corelli really has done a good job of getting that truck up through the field from his 10th place starting position. It's followed by Bill Sedgwick, Butch Gilliland in the 06, Toby Butler in the Ortho Lawn Care Center Ford, number 21, Ken Schrader all the way back from the back of the field in 9th, and Scott Lagacy rounding out the top 10.
I want you to look at the door number on Rick Corelli's car. That right there says Saturday Night Short Track Racing. Big old donut right there in the middle of it.
Corelli looks like he's about ready to fall asleep as we look at the positions 11 through 20. Bob Strait, Troy Beebe, Bob Keselowski, Jack Sprague, Sammy Swindell, Jerry Glanville, Ron Hornaday, Mark Gibson, Walker Evans, and Bob Walker.
21st is Jerry Churchill, 22nd Kerry Teague, 23rd behind the wall right now is P.J. Jones, and 24th right now is Kendra, who I think's behind the wall as well with transmission trouble.
You see P.J. Jones there in 23rd, and Ralph's got a report.
Well, gentlemen, you might remember we mentioned that if the crew started working on the truck while we were still in a red flag situation, they would automatically be assessed a 2-lap penalty. They did start working on the truck. Their patience wouldn't last. They have been assessed a 2-lap penalty. So PJ is well down. I think that's probably 3 laps for him now that he is down. We've seen him do that before and come back and run real well, being 3 laps down, in fact, at the last race at Tucson. So maybe PJ figures he can do it again here. One other truck to take note of is the 31 truck. That's Jack Sprague. Now, Jack has got a problem. He was involved in that incident on the racetrack that has brought us to this point. He's got some cosmetic damage. They're worried about it rubbing on the tire. As soon as we go yellow and they get the trucks rolling again, Jack will be diving into the pits to get the sheet metal taken away from the tire.
As we reported earlier, Sprague was the number 2 man in the points coming into tonight's race. Immediately following the TNN broadcast of tonight's race, the Statler brothers are scheduled to come on at 12 a.m. Eastern time. Guys, you may be a little bit late tonight. We're running a little bit long here tonight because of this red flag, but stay tuned. Statler brothers will be on. They put on a great show.
You know, Glenn, I'm a little surprised at just a 2-lap penalty for working on the truck before they go back to caution conditions. I believe that's a smart move on PJ's crew. I believe I'd take a 30-second penalty for going ahead and be able to work on my truck.
Oh, absolutely, because if they would have had to wait until the trucks were running around, they would have lost, I believe, the work they had to do. They've lost much more than the 2-lap penalty, so you're right. That was a smart move. Sometimes it pays to break the rules, doesn't it, Larry?
I'm telling you, sometimes you have to look at the rules in different directions. Work in the gray area.
And the trucks are starting to be refired right now. You see Mike Skinner's truck number 3, the Goodrich truck. He's starting to pull away. In fact, he's all the way around on the front stretch. We're waiting, trying to get Jeff Bodine refired here. We'll get things ready to go here. The track has been swept, so we're going to put the trucks back out there. They'll get this speedy dry out of the way in a hurry.
I'm sure what they'll do is they'll run the trucks a little bit under caution to get the sweep away.
Okay, we'll take this opportunity to take a quick break. We'll be right back for the restart of tonight's race. Cleanup activities should be concluded at that time. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more live racing action. Welcome back to Saugus Speedway. You're looking at the trucks. They're rolling again. These laps do not count. This is an effort to try to clear the racetrack. Here is the NASCAR Super Truck Series by Craftsman schedule that you'll see live on TNN. We're about 4 laps away from green. May 5th, Portland, Oregon. The following week in Monroe, Washington. Then on to Odessa, Missouri on May 27th. July 29th, Topeka, Kansas. In August, we're in Flemington, New Jersey. October 15th, back to California at Bakersfield. And we wrap up the season with the finale at Phoenix, Arizona. And you see the trucks continue. Larry, NASCAR has speeded the trucks up just a little bit to try to work this speedy dry off of this racing surface.
Well, I think they're trying to do 2 things here, Glenn. They are trying to work in the racetrack, get the speedy dry off the surface, and I think they're giving these guys a little more speed to just actually check the surface out. Again, I think this is a great move on NASCAR because we want to give these fans just as much green flag racing as we can.
Absolutely. As we said, these laps do not count. Let's go back down to Ralph Shaheen.
You know, Glenn, Saugus Speedway is historically well known here in the Wild West. The reason being is that just on the other side of this fence is a train station, or a train tracks, actually, and the last great train robbery took place right there by Buffalo Bob, or Buffalo Tom is actually his name. No, Buffalo Tom held up his train on his own, took $300 in cash and made away, and it was the last great train robbery. It took place in the 1920s. And nowadays here at Saugus, they have train races. They take these 3 cars, they hook them together with chains, and they take them, they race them through the figure 8. Pretty wild racing here at Saugus on a weekly basis, Glenn.
Well, that's one way to come up with a racing series. Train races there. The trucks have been given 2 laps to go signal, so we're just about ready to go racing. Larry, I can't wait until the first green flag lap that is run, because I can still see a little white powdery residue that has worked itself into the racing surface. That's got to be slick.
And I'm sure it's going to look like a snowstorm when they go through there as far as visibility. And I'm sure the crew chiefs have told their drivers, look, guys, let's fill this racetrack out and let's take it easy for the first few laps.
Well, the field has been given the 1 to go signal. The lights are out atop the pace truck. Mike Skinner getting ready to go, and I wonder what's going through Skinner's mind. Like, man, I got to be the first guy to run down in here wide open. Why has it got to be me?
He's probably definitely dreading being the guinea pig here, but if he wants to keep that lead and keep Jeff Bodine off of him, he's going to have to get out there and get on with it.
Richard Childress made a really interesting point pointing out, just like you said, Bodine was able to close up on him in the middle of the corner. We're going to see what happens. The green flag is flying. Mike Skinner comes roaring down the front stretch into the first turn. Boy, they look like they're walking on glass. They are really taking their time through there, and who can blame them? But so far, no incidents. Looks like pretty clean racing, Larry.
And I tell you, it looks like they've done a good job. I don't see a lot of it flying, and we're going to get back to some good racing here right away.
Skinner wastes no time again on putting a couple of truck links between himself and Jeff Bodine. He really gets a bite. You're looking at Rick Corelli now moving up on the outside of Jerry Churchill. Of course, Churchill is a lap down. Corelli is the 5th place truck at this moment.
These guys are definitely looking at the scoreboard and listening to their crew chiefs, and they know they're getting down to within about 25 laps to end this segment, and they've got to think about now what kind of adjustments they're going to make during that break.
And the break that Larry's talking about, of course, will come at the halfway. Once they run 101 laps, they'll take a 10 to 15-minute break to let the guys reset their trucks. We started this in the Winter Heat Series at Tucson. NASCAR liked the idea. It gives the crews and the teams a little bit of a chance. You see a battle now for 3rd place. That's Joe Ruttman in the 84 Coca-Cola truck trying to put a move on truck number 98. That's driven by Butch Miller. Ruttman looks like he's really got it hooked up on the inside, and that's where he's going to have to pass him, Larry.
You know, these 2 trucks was at North Wilkesboro about 2 or 3 weeks ago testing with each other, and I know the 84 truck of Joe Ruttman, they've really worked hard on making that truck last on long green runs. That's one thing that happened to him at Tucson. It kind of faded at the end of both segments.
Yeah, he had a real good run going to Tucson in the race last week, but as you said, he faded back. Ralph Shaheen?
Glenn, some of the drivers have had experience on very, very flat racetracks. Butch Miller is one of those. Years ago in the late 80s, Butch Miller actually competed in an ASA stock car race inside the Pontiac Silverdome, and he says that was absolutely as flat as this, and he ran real well there, so he might have an advantage there. Sammy Swindell, he raced on a flat dirt track called Kokomo in Indiana. He said that was very similar to this place as well.
You see the lead truck of Mike Skinner moving around P.J. Jones' truck. P.J. has come back into the action, and being a gentleman, he has moved over to the inside, letting those faster trucks go on by right now. He doesn't want to have anything to do with those guys to get in their way.
I tell you, that's a prime example right there. There he is already back out there racing. So again, I think those guys made a smart move by going ahead and taking the penalty and getting back out on the racetrack.
His die-hard truck is a little bit worse for the wear right now. Let's watch and see if Jeff Bodine, number 7, look how he really pulls up on Skinner right dead in the middle of the corner.
Jeff definitely is getting through the center of the corner, as Richard Childress said a while ago, but looks like Skinner is getting good forward bite, good traction up off the corner.
That truck has got a really good engine in it, always runs well off the corners. Look at Ron Hornaday. He's trying to move under Sammy Swindell in number 38 truck. Of course, that's Hornaday in the red and white number 16 there. I don't think it'll be long before he takes that position from Swindell. Hornaday, of course, was involved in that spin after he was running in 5th position. Fell way back in the pack, and now he's about a half lap down. You see him move to the inside, but he turned it sideways there right in the middle of 1 and 2. Swindell was able to pull him off the corner.
I tell you, I'm sure they're going to go in there and they're going to really work on the Hornaday truck during the break. I'm sure it's not quite up to what they'd like it to be doing right now.
You know, Larry, he could have sustained a little bit of damage as we move back up front in that spin. And look at Bodine now. He's really putting the heat on Mike Skinner. He's really closing the distance up, and it's all coming right in the center of the corner.
Well, you know, one advantage that Jeff Bodine has, maybe over Mike Skinner, is Jeff is used to long races and saving his tires, and now he's looking up at that scoreboard and knowing that 100-lap mark is getting close to him.
And the one reason that they want to lead that 100-lap mark, of course, is that there is a $1,000 bonus posted by Gatorade for the guy that leads the lap at the halfway point in the race. So they're good for that. You see now Skinner Maybe heard me talking about that, put the pedal to the metal. He's moving under Walker Evans there, the number 20 Dodge, putting Walker a lap down. So as they're starting to move into traffic, Bodine's truck working better in the center of the corner. He may be able to orchestrate some kind of move on Skinner.
This is definitely the first time that we've had a long enough green run, really, for the leaders to get into the lap traffic.
Bodine seems to be working a little bit better on the outside, but man, when Skinner hits that accelerator, that truck flies down this short straightaway. You got to feel like, though, Larry, that eventually that truck is handling a little better, as much turning and as flat as this place is, that Bodine, and you see him now, he's starting to move on the outside. I'm sure that Skinner is watching him in his mirror. He's trying to hold Jeff Bodine off. I know he wants to lead at least through the halfway section.
I think Jeff might have played the outside a little too long, because there's Butch Miller going under him for second place, and Joe Ruttman was right there as well.
Yeah, it looked like Jeff was testing the water out there, and Butch Miller, while he was testing that water, drove right underneath him to take second position. And as Ralph said, Miller has a lot of experience on flat ovals. I don't think you'll find a flat one in this, but they're hung up behind traffic now. Skinner's able to put a little distance on them.
I tell you, that's the big thing. Lap traffic is definitely playing a part in this race, and Skinner's getting away while Jeff and Butch Miller's having to deal with the lap cars. It's catching them at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, this is definitely the Skinner's advantage. Pretty much got smooth sailing in there. You see a move for third place. Joe Ruttman trying to get under Jeff Bodine. A couple of Ford race trucks there. Ruttman's run awfully well so far, but you can see Bodine's superior handling as he pulls him up off the corner. Look at Joe gain on him going in, but you're going to take that position coming off most times.
Joe's definitely getting in better than Jeff, and pretty much equal to him through the center, but it looks like Jeff is maybe getting that better forward bite off the corner right there.
Only about 18 laps to go in this first segment. Furious battle now for third place. Bodine is doing all he can on him. Now Ruttman moves to the outside. He's going to try it. There's nobody right behind Ruttman. Bill Sedgwick running fifth back there. You can see the blue and white number 75. And now he moves right up on Ruttman's tail end, so Ruttman's going to have to stick close to the inside.
You know, it's almost like some of them at times move up to that second groove just to see maybe if it's come in. It's like, oh, it ain't come in yet. I better get back down here to the bottom.
You're exactly right. When Ruttman moved up there just for that half a lap, Bill Sedgwick wasn't even in the picture. He pulled right up on his back bumper. So that's it. And a little bit of contact there between Sedgwick and Ruttman. And you see Butch Miller up on the outside now. Bodine trying to take the position back. Miller forces him in behind John Kinder, the number 14, the lap truck. Bodine has to fall back into third. Meanwhile, up front, Mike Skinner continues to pull away.
I tell you why these guys has been back there racing and dealing with this lap traffic. That 3 truck of Mike Skinner, he's kind of pulled away with a pretty good lead there.
Skinner just put a lap on Jack Sprague. Let's go back down to the pits. Ralph Shaheen is with Butch Miller's crew chief.
That would be Gary Showalter, who we've caught up with here. He's keeping a quick eye on Butch as he comes past him just on the inside here in turns 1 and 2. Gary, are you concerned about catching Skinner, or are you just trying to hold position right now before the half?
What we're trying to do is just stay with him, run behind him, and hopefully we can be there at the end to help to pass him.
Are you going to have to make a lot of changes at the halftime, or are you pretty pleased?
No, we're pretty happy with the truck.
It's Gary Showalter, crew chief for Butch Miller, who's running in second right now.
Well, I know Gary Showalter, his crew chief, and it always amazes me how much he looks like Butch Miller.
You know, Butch has had several guys that's worked for him over the past year that can pass for his brother. Kevin Hamlin that works for the Rick NASCAR. I swore he was Butch's brother for years.
Now you see Jeff Bodine finally clearing lap traffic. That's 81, the black truck of Jerry Glanville. He's going a lap down. Of course, he was a lap down already to the leader, Mike Skinner. This battle is for third and fourth position. Of course, Butch Miller's in second. Mike Skinner leads. A lot of action right now. You see Bill Sedgwick trying to move into the picture there. These guys all look to be pretty even at this point in the race.
I tell you what, you look at the Joe Ruttman truck. I see those rotors glowing. It's definitely, he's driving it down in the corner, but he's determined to get that third place before this segment's over.
Yeah, those brakes are really heating up, and I wonder, Larry, if they're not punishing them a little bit more right now, knowing that they've got that 10-minute halftime break. You can see right in the center of his wheel there, the glow. That thing is red hot.
I tell you, it can really cause a problem. The only thing he might have going for him is at the end of this first segment is close. And a big thing that they could deal with is the rotor can warp right here or groove up, and that can cause brake problems, especially in that second segment.
And we asked Joe Ruttman about the brake problem here at Saugus. This is what Joe Ruttman had to say about braking on his flat racetrack.
You have to use the heck out of them, and if you don't, you're going to lose. And if you don't maintain them, you're in trouble. So the only thing you can do is pump air to them, Brake fluid is really, really important, because if it boils the brake fluid, then you lose your pedal. But it's probably as tough a place as you could conceivably run on brakes. I mean, it's almost like a brake test is what it brews down to.
And the trucks have been given a caution. We are at the halfway break. We've just completed lap 101. Mike Skinner was the leader, as he has been from the start. Butch Miller was running second. We're going to take the short break. The guys will have a chance to work on their trucks. We'll be back with some reports from the pits while that activity is going on. Stay tuned for the halftime break. We'll be back in a moment. We're back now at Saugus. I apologize for the confusion. We were given the indication that that was the lap 101. We can't see the scoreboard from here, and our scoring monitor loop is down right now. There was a caution there. Toby Butler, truck number 21, had contact with the wall. You can see him smoking there in the background. So that was the 7th caution period that when that flag flew on lap 95. They just had a 5-lap run to the halfway point. And as I said before, Mike Skinner has collected that bonus. He led to halfway. The trucks now are exiting the racetrack. You take a look at Toby Butler there in the Ortho Lawn and Garden truck. They will have the halftime activities right now, which enables the guys to try to fix problems like Toby Butler's got, like P.J. Jones has. But they have a chance to work on the trucks, set them for the second half of this race. We apologize for jumping the gun there, but hey, it's been kind of that kind of night here tonight, Larry.
I'm telling you, we've had a little bit of everything happen here tonight, but this does give the crews a chance to work on these trucks. I was told by Dennis Huth and John Coven earlier today that they pretty much can change anything they want to that's within the rules during this 10-minute break.
And anything that they have time for. There you see the truck of Mike Skinner as the crew goes to work on his truck. Ralph Shaheen is standing by, is going to try to get a word with Mike.
Glenn, the thing down here in the pits is it's a little bit crazy here at Saugus. Of course, they haven't had a tremendous amount of truck races in the past, so things are a little bit hectic. They're trying to get everybody organized. Will Lind asking for just a half a second as he dives in to talk to his driver, Mike Skinner. Of course, Rich Burgess, the crew chief on this truck, and everybody's kind of filing in down here and taking their time. We're told there's going to be about a 10-minute break. So for the drivers that are coming in on the back side of this pack, it could be a little tight. Hey, Mike Skinner, you're having a pretty good run out there. Are you pleased with the truck?
I couldn't hear you.
Are you pleased with the performance of the truck right now, or are you looking for specific changes?
We're probably going to change it a little bit. There was some of them that was coming to us pretty quick there at the end. The truck was real tight right there, you know, while we was running, and then we had that stop, that long wait, and then the truck got real loose right there at the end. So I don't know if the track's going to come back or what. We're just, we're going to roll the dice and see what happens.
All right, Mike Skinner getting ready in his Goodwrench Services truck. Everybody else keeping pretty busy down here, and we're going to wander around, see if we can find somebody else to chat with.
Okay, thanks, Ralph. We'll get back to you shortly. While the teams begin work on the trucks, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more action during the halftime break here at Saugus Speedway. Stay tuned, don't go away. There's more action to follow. And we're back as the mayhem continues, or just has started down in the pits here. It's really tight, a lot of fast and furious activities going on down there. Let's check in with Ralph.
Glenn, I have been in numerous pit areas all across the country in all forms of racing. I've never seen anything as crazed mayhem as we have here tonight in Saugus. You can see, hey, there's only arm-length distance between the two trucks here. This Butch Miller's truck over here, they're trying to get things fixed on his. We've got the 16 truck and Ron Hornaday right next door. There's not even enough room to get the jacks up. I'm going to get out of the way here so these guys can change tires. The guys are having to work in unison between the two teams. One crew changing tires while the other one waits to change tires on the other side. Then they flip-flop around. We've got trucks banging into each other down here. Guys are throwing tires. I don't even think they know whose tires they're grabbing. That's how crazy it is down here. They're just stacking them up all over the place, making adjustments to wedge and so forth. It's just kind of crazy. So we're going to dive in here while Butch's guys fix that. And we're going to ask Butch a quick question. Hey, Butch, you've been pretty good on flat tracks like inside the Silverdome. You feeling pretty comfortable out here tonight?
Well, you want the honest truth? I hate the place. I don't know what's going on. We're running pretty good right now. I can't complain. Let me get my sponsors in here. I'm practicing now. I got Ray Bestis, Ford Credit, Red Carpet Lease, Ford.
You know, I think the most calm place in the whole place is in the cab.
You've got your sponsors in. Congratulations. Good work. Let's take a closer look at the gear situation here that Larry mentioned a little bit ago about what they can change, what they can't. Larry McReynolds.
The track here at Saugus is so small that it really requires a low rear-end gear ratio. This is the Ford 9-inch gear that most trucks run, but it only goes as low as a 650. Because they need somewhere in the 725 range, a lot of teams has elected to go with a quick change rear end, which uses 2 spur gears like this that turn within each other. Some teams, because of durability, have elected to stay with a Ford 9-inch gear and pull a real close third gear in their transmission and pull third gear, which will give them the right ratio, again, somewhere in the 725 range. This is a lot more durable than these, but because of pulling third gear, it generates a lot more heat, so they're really going to have to do a good job of cooling the transmission.
And that gear situation is mighty important here on a flat racetrack like this. You've got to be geared absolutely right to keep the truck from spinning, but also to let the truck freewheel going into the corners. We're going to take another break while the guys are working on the trucks. You take a look at the top 10 there, still led by Mike Skinner. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Saugus Speedway. The halftime activities are just about done here. You see one of the youngest fans here showing off his favorite driver, that blue and red. Looked like he might be a Sammy Swindell guy. Again, let's take a look at the top 10. Mike Skinner, followed by Butch Miller, Jeff Bodine, Joe Ruttman, Bill Sedgwick, Mark Gibson, Rick Corelli, Ken Schrader, Butch Gilliland, and Jerry Glanville round out the top 10. Let's go back down to Ralph.
Ron Hornaday's crew's been working pretty extensively on the brakes up front here, and let's find out. Ron, is everything okay with your brakes as you're popping them to build them up here?
All right. Right now we just, coming from the back there, we got taken out. We end up having to come from the back, and then I kind of burned the front brakes up. So, I don't know, we'll see the second half. The track's real dirty. We'll just go out there and do the best we can.
Crew working hard on those brakes. Ron pumping them up, trying to make sure everything's ready to go.
And Ron Hornaday is most of the time ready to go. Of course, as he said, they were making a few changes there. One of the trucks, Larry, kind of surprisingly, you see truck number 75 there, Bill Sedgwick. He didn't stay long in the pits.
I'm going to tell you, that's a sign that they must have been pretty happy with that truck, because he showed up way before the time limit was up, and now you see the rest of them starting to get in line. He'd kind of been hanging there 5th through 6th, though it'd be interesting to see what they do this second segment.
I had him in 5th position at the break. So, of course, we'll check scoring to make sure that everything is official here at the halftime break. Right before we start, we'll try to get absolutely how the trucks are running. You're looking out, looks like a Rick Corelli there. You see P.J. Jones has moved his number 1 truck back onto the racetrack. A lot of rear end damage there. He's just out trying to finish as high up as he can now. And there was the halftime leader, Mike Skinner, making his way back to the track. So they've continued their changes on the truck. Be interesting to find out exactly what they did change on that truck, because he led 100 laps.
I'm sure the first thing that some of the top teams did is obviously they got the feedback from the driver to see what the truck was doing from their standpoint, but I'm sure just as soon as they could, they got tire temperatures of the tires, air pressure buildup. That'd give them a lot of valuable information to see what adjustments they could make. I'm sure some of the top cars probably only made air pressure adjustments, wedge adjustments, but I'm sure maybe some trucks back in the pack, they felt like they was way off, maybe would have even changed a spring or a shock.
Well, you're exactly right. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and again at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Win. Be sure and tune in. Tomorrow's segment is on P.J. Jones. Getting a look at P.J. Jones' truck there. I'm sure he would rather have it looking a little better, but that's the way it looks tonight after 100 laps here at Saugus. Be sure to tune in that segment of Win tomorrow on P.J. Jones. Get a look at P.J. sitting there waiting on the restart. Looks like he's pretty cool, calm, and collected right now.
I tell you, about the only thing that isn't bent on that truck is the roof right now.
And you see the rest of the field has pretty much made it back out onto the surface. You see the Pace truck there in front. Of course, Mike Skinner, Butch Miller, top 2 trucks. And we talked about 75, Bill Sedgwick coming out early. Let's find out what the story is, Ralph.
Sedgwick's truck was pretty tight early on, gentlemen, and they spent some time loosening it up in the pit area here. They made some changes to it. They're playing their cards pretty close to their chest. They don't want to say exactly what it was that they did to it. Troy Beebe's here in the pit area. He's got an overheating problem. The crew is pouring lots of water. In fact, they're trying to take water out of their cooler that's keeping their drinks cool, and they're pouring it right into the radiator. With just a few minutes to go, these guys will do anything to find some more cold water to try to cool this truck down.
Well, that's definitely cold water, Larry.
I'm telling you, I just wonder if they're experiencing maybe that the radiator stopped up. It'd be interesting to find out exactly what the problem is there.
A little unusual to see them put water that cold. Of course, like Ralph said, they had to find water anywhere they can.
I'm sure down there in the heat of the battle, there wasn't no water spigot real close, so they had to grab what they could.
Yeah, tough luck crew. You don't get any water for the second half of the race. It's in the truck.
I tell you, Glenn, it's interesting to hear that some of the trucks is experiencing some brake problems. I walked around the garage today, and I certainly questioned some of the brake cooling systems that some of the trucks had. I've never seen a vehicle lose a race because their brakes run too cool. And there's something smoking there on the Butch Miller. I wonder if that's brake smoking on his truck.
Well, I don't know. They should have cooled down by now. Of course, they may have put something on them, or it could just be that they put some water in that truck and maybe a little overflow or something like that. See, the tow truck is pulled in behind somebody there behind Butch Miller. Looks like they might need a push start. Word is that we will return racing. There are last-minute cleanup activities going on the racetrack. Most of the trucks have made their way back out now. We'll be ready for the refiring and for the second half of the Craftsman 200. Once again, a look inside Rick Corelli's truck.
We got the word from the garage area that the radiator is leaking on the Troy Beebe truck. They've got a long way to try to nurse that thing if that radiator's leaking, but I'm sure they're racers. They worked hard this week to get here, so they're going to do everything they can to keep that truck in the race.
Well, I started to say that's a fine thing to happen after the week that they put in, working 36 hours straight, putting the truck basically back together again. Of course, they have the facilities to do it, but that's a lot of travel. There are a lot of champion drivers in this field, and we have tried to run down as many of them as possible. Let's take a look at this. First of all, Mike Skinner, 3 track championships. Rick Corelli was the Winston West 1993 champion and the NASCAR Southwest Tour champion 91. Ron Hornaday, 2-time Featherlight Southwest Tour champion. Walker Evans, 9 Baja 1000 victories. Walker would tell you he probably has 10 or 12. Toby Butler was the Winston Northwest Tour champion, 87. And Scott Lagacy is a 3-time SCCA national champ. Wow, there's more. Bob Keselowski, ARCA champ, 1989. Swindell, World of Outlaws, 81-82. Kerry Teague won the track championship at Concord, North Carolina. Bill Sedgwick won the NASCAR Winston West in 91 and 92. Joe Ruttman, USAC stock cars in 1980. That goes back a while. Troy Beebe was a late model stock champion at Stockton Speedway in California in 85. Butch Miller, a 3-time and the reigning ASA champion.
I'm going to tell you, Glenn, you want to talk about IROC? We got an IROC race right here. Just look at that list of champions.
Absolutely. That's amazing that the kind of potential or talent that has drawn itself to this sport. Let's go now to Ralph Shaheen, who's in the number 3 pits.
We're talking with Rich Burgess, crew chief from Mike Skinner. What exactly did you do to that truck now?
Well, I made a slight spring change on the right rear, so we're hoping to free it up a little bit and make her run a little bit better there towards the end of the second 100 laps.
Do you make your choices how your truck is running or how you see the competition running, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a total package. We watch out how the guys behind us are running, and we get input from Mike, and the team gets together and decides on what they're going to do. It's a team effort here, so I think we made a good move, and we'll just see how it turns out.
Well, we saw this track get all covered up in oil and grease sweep. What do you think it's going to do later on here?
That was the toughest thing because we got the oil laid down. We weren't sure what it was going to do, but the more we run it, I think it'll get the track back to normal, and I think hopefully we can keep that GM Goodwrench truck up front.
Rich Burgess, crew chief from Mike Skinner.
I'm sure what they did there on the is they either put a stiffer right rear spring in it or maybe even inserted a rubber wrap that just would stiffen that spring up. It'd be interesting to see if it does help the truck cut the center without hurting the forward bite up off the corner.
That's the one thing I was going to say. We're getting the signal to go now. There's about a lap and a half before we go back to green. But I was wondering that same thing, Larry, when he said that. Of course, I felt like you did. You see a full field run down there now. But I felt like that they would have stiffened that spring up. But what was it going to do to the bite? He's getting off the corner. Man, that thing was like a rocket ship when he hit the accelerator.
It'll be interesting to see how it affects it there.
Again, we've run 101 laps. You see all the way through the field. Kerry Teague winding up in 24th place. P.J. Jones in 22nd.
And Glenn, at this point, halfway, none of the 22 trucks is officially listed out of the race. All 22 are still officially running.
24.
24.
22 qualified. They took 2 provisional, so it's a little confusing. I'll forgive you for that, though. We're ready for a restart. See Toby Butler down on the inside trying to get his lap back, but Mike Skinner will have none of it. At least not yet. Butler drove off in the infield and missed him. Got a little sideways. He really wanted that lap back.
You'll watch some of the trucks here in the early going of this run. I'm sure they're back on fresh tires with the air pressures down, and it'll take some of them a few laps to really get going until the air pressures build up and the heat gets in the tires.
Be really interested to see how much the adjustments that everybody made have changed, either for better or for worse, the trucks, once they have come back out. Like you said, it'll take a few laps to tell that. Butch Miller back there hung up on the outside of Mark Gibson in the number 30 Dodge there. He finally clears him. Of course, Butch running second now. Mike Skinner has opened up about a 12 to 15, maybe even 20 car truck length lead. I was going to say a car truck length, that won't work, will it?
Now, and you know, Glenn, I don't envy these teams' positions. You know, if on the Winston Cup cars, if we make a change at the halfway point and it's the wrong way, we got trouble over in turn 4. Scott Legacy involved there.
Car number 14 also looks like truck number 81. I said car, that's truck number 81. That would be Jerry Glanville, I believe, is the truck sitting there now. Yes, it is. That's Glanville sitting dead still. He has refired the truck now and will pull it away, but he did lose a lap. We see, we can get the cameras. You see the damage, the front end damage there on Glanville. There's also severe left front fender damage on Sammy Swindell's truck as he cuts across the infield. We'll get a picture of that here a little bit later. He's heading to the pits. So Swindell sustained damage there. Let's take a look at what happened. You see Swindell's truck there right now making his way back to the pits, followed by Scott Legacy. Here we go. And coming off the corner, it looks like Glanville got tagged. Oh yeah, you see Swindell's already spun around back there. Well, that's John Kinder. Swindell comes in later with P.J. Jones. Boy, that was really a mix-up there.
Really hard to say what happened there first, whether it was Kinder or whether it was Jerry Glanville that got loose, and of course it was just the domino effect from there.
Yeah, everybody trying to put the brakes on, come to a stop, and some did faster than others. Therefore, they ran into the back of them. You see Jerry Glanville limping around with the flat left rear tire. That's the 8th caution flag. Comes on lap 105. Glanville has now made his way to the pits. So it didn't take long before we had a little chain reaction, and that's not too uncommon on a short track right after a restart. Everybody all bunched up. If somebody makes a slight bobble, slight mistake, it can easily affect 10 or 12 trucks, and that's exactly what happened. You see the work going on Swindell's truck there. Looks like a lot of sheet metal damage, but as heavy as that is, I imagine there's something else. Looked like, was that Hornaday in the pits there also? Yes, it was. Ron Hornaday's truck is also having some work done on it during this caution period.
Just saw Bob Walker pull his truck to the garage area. We're going back green here.
Yes, we are. We've got pace truck is off the racetrack. Once again, Toby Butler flanks Mike Skinner trying to get that lap back. Skinner dives down in front of him going into 1. Once again, Butler has to run out through the infield, turns it sideways, but just can't keep up with that black number 3.
You know, when you run down through the infield, maybe it looks good, looks like you got your momentum getting in, but you pay the price when you try to get off the corner.
Not much traction down there. Even though it's paved, it's asphalt, there's still a lot of grit and sand and stuff down there. Butch Miller once again having to clear Mark Gibson. He lost a lot of time a while ago. Does a little bit better job this time, gets by Gibson a little bit quicker, as does Jeff Bodine in the number 7 truck. Bodine ran in the top 2, 3, 4, all during the first segment. Finished 3rd, that's where he is right now. Field starts to sort itself out just a little as Miller pulls Bodine down the backstretch. Looks to me like that they might be inching up just a little on Mike Skinner. That's the way it was earlier. Skinner, and look at Hornaday now. He's way in the back of the pack, and he gets against one of the trucks. Ralph, why did he have to make that pit stop?
Ron Hornaday had a flat tire. He came in and got that fixed. Jerry Glanville had pitted. He's already back out. We still have Scott Legacy in the back pit area, as well as Sammy Swindell. They're all ripping off body panels, trying to figure out exactly how extensive the damage is. For most of them, it looks like they've gotten into the suspension pieces as well as the body panels.
And there you see Hornaday moving through the field, back up front to Mike Skinner. He continues to put a little distance between himself and Butch Miller. Running 2nd, Bodine still running 3rd. Skinner has been pretty flawless so far. Right now, the top 5, Mike Skinner, Butch Miller, Jeff Bodine, Joe Ruttman, and truck number 6, Rick Corelli, the camera truck.
There you see the Joe Ruttman truck. I don't know if they went the wrong way. He may have a flat tire. There he goes to the garage.
I think you're right, Larry. I was watching him earlier on the racetrack. He really was loose, having a lot of trouble holding the truck down. Oh! Mike Skinner cuts down in front of Jerry Glanville and gets tagged. The leader goes spinning.
Caution
down in the middle of turns 1 and 2. A caution flag. Oh, and he almost pulled. Look at this. Man, that's close.
I tell you, he knew those leaders was coming back around and he needed to get going, but that was pretty close there.
And what that does is allow Toby Butler to get that lap back. Toby was 1 lap down. He did get his lap back right now. Butch Miller is now the leader. This is the 9th caution, comes on lap 116, as you can see on the screen there, but Toby Butler made up a lap. Let's take a look at what happened. You see Skinner coming down in on the outside of Jerry Glanville, and there is definite contact going into the turn there. Look at the great job Skinner does of keeping the truck off the wall.
I tell you, that's about as close as you can come. And you know what we'll find out now is how good the 3 truck is. He's been out front, been in clean air most of the night. Now he's got to try to work himself back up through the pack. Really close call there with the 16 cars he was coming in. Good job by Ron Hornaday getting slowed down.
Hornaday almost got him. There's Mike Skinner. He's got his work cut out for him now. He's got to move back up through the pack. We'll be back to see if he can do it. This is going to be fun to watch Mike Skinner come back. The green flag has reflown here, and Butch Miller led the field down. Of course, he was on the outside, but 16, Ron Hornaday, has gotten his lap back, as did Mark Gibson. So Miller not off to a very good start. Walker Elman's also got a lap back. Big jam up there. You can see Miller hemmed in behind the trucks that he's trying to lap. Ron Hornaday on the outside. Miller trying to keep him a lap down. If there's a guy you want to keep a lap down, it's him. Look at the in-car action from Rick Corelli there. And I said in-car, it's in truck. Let me put $1 in the till there, Larry.
I tell you, Ron Hornaday really used the lap truck there to stay in front of Butch Miller. That was really a good move on his part.
There you see Mark Gibson in the number 30 and Ron Hornaday number 16. He's hoping for another caution. Speaking of caution, that last one came out, the black flag being shown to somebody there. I believe it is Mark Gibson. Yes, he may have jumped the start, but Gibson getting the black flag. But the last caution was caused when Jerry Glanville tapped leader Mike Skinner, sent him spinning. Glanville was sent to the pits for a 5-lap penalty.
You know, Glenn, there you see Ken Schrader. I'm going to tell you, he's been quietly back there all night long, working his way back to the front. He just took over second place. I don't know if they made adjustments to that truck during the break, but whatever they've done or whatever they didn't do, it's definitely right.
You know, Larry, he had a really fast truck at the beginning, and he got messed up with P.J. Jones there and was put into the back of the field for a retaliatory measure that he took against P.J., or at least in NASCAR's eyes. And he has just calmly and patiently worked his way through the field. This is the first chance he's really had to show just how strong he is.
I think that's a key word. He knew he had to use patience. There was no sense in getting in a hurry. He had a lot of laps to get back to the front, and there he is again. He seems to really be better than Jeff Bodine there, and zooming in on Butch Miller.
You know, you made a very good point a while ago, is a lot of these guys haven't run this long, but Ken Schrader has. All the racing he's done, he knows what has to be done. He knows how he has to wait and be patient. Let's go down to his pits now with Ralph Shaheen.
Tim Cahuth is his crew chief, and he's watching him. Timmy, what changes did you make to your truck in the break, as he's running real well?
Well, when they had a long red flag, me and Kenny had a little talk, and I went over to the truck and I built a different shock absorber for the right front. And it was an iffy guess, but it looks like I got it pretty close.
Jimmy Cahuth, one of the most underrated crew chiefs in the business. He works strictly on Schrader's personal race cars, builds everything for Schrader, one of the most talented crew chiefs in the business.
Oh, he absolutely is, Larry, and he's one guy I think that soon will become a Winston Cup crew chief. I think he's got the credentials.
I'm going to tell you, he's won races in a lot of different divisions. I think he crew chiefed the car that Andy Hillenberg drove to the ARCA victory at Daytona during Speed Week. So, I think he's a very underrated with a lot of credit coming his way.
That's exactly right. You see Schrader there trying to hold off Jeff Bodine. Schrader holding on to that second position. He's not too awfully far behind the leader, Butch Miller. And Bodine looks like he's trying to mount a charge now, back on the inside. Loses traction coming off the corner. You really have to turn the truck hard when you come off that thing down low.
You really do. That wall comes up in a hurry.
There's Mike Skinner. He fell back to 8th place after that spin. He has now moved his way back up into 6th.
Well, you've got the master at it on the radio, I'm sure, talking to him. Just be patient, Mike. You know, Richard Childress, I'm sure, is talking to him. And, you know, he's still got a lot of racing here to go.
You saw the white truck that went by just in front of Skinner. That's Butch Gilliland. Butch should be the 5th place truck, still on the lead lap, so shouldn't be too long before he contends for the top 5 again. Back up front, that's Butch Miller in the blue, yellow, white, and red, number 98. He gives Ron Hornaday a little love tap there.
I think Butch knows that definitely putting Ron Hornaday a lap down could definitely change the outcome of this event.
Hornaday is looking, he's thinking, like, man, they had all those cautions, and now that I need one, why won't one fly? But what usually happens when you wish that way?
That's exactly right. I'm sure there, you know, a while ago I was about to say, I'm sure him getting his lap back won't be a problem with many cautions that we've had, but right now it seems like everybody's kind of settled down and content to run where they are.
How about, there's 75 and 84. Of course, Ruttman is a lap down at least because of that flat tire that he had, and that is what happened. He did cut a tire a while ago. There you see the top 5, Butch Miller, Ken Schrader, Jeff Bodine, Bill Sedgwick, and as I said, Butch Gilliland in 5th place. In 6th should be Mike Skinner. There you see Sedgwick moving around the lap truck. Ooh, he got a little hot there on the brakes, had to slide the wheels, and that allowed Ruttman to get by.
He was definitely trying to hold Joe off there and drove it in a little deep. You saw that old left front lock up.
There's not a whole lot to do except slide it and slide right up the racetrack here. There's no bank to help stop or turn that truck.
It's like when you miss a shift in a big truck. The only way to gather it back is stop and start over.
Wow, Ruttman is fast. Of course, Ruttman has got a little bit fresher tires on right now, but looks like his truck's really getting around well. He is at least 1 lap down.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to underestimate no truck at all out there. We have caution on the racetrack.
And there is the caution. Number 30, Mark Gibson, has spun and made contact with the wall. Second time he's done that to that truck today. That's what Ron Hornaday wanted. And there is Jerry Glanville involved once again in another caution incident. Gibson has fired his truck up and moving away. We'll take this opportunity to go to another commercial break. We'll be right back for the restart after this. Full moon tonight. Maybe that's what's going on, Larry.
Well, you know, here in the booth I couldn't see the moon, but I saw the shot of it there, and that answers all the questions right there. You know, what's been going on the racetrack, the power failure, just full moon's definitely in full form tonight.
And I want to tell the Fates how much I appreciate it making it my debut here. There's the top 10. You see Butch Miller, Ken Schrader, Jeff Bodine, Bill Sedgwick, Butch Gilliland, Mike Skinner, Troy Beebe, Rick Corelli, Ron Hornaday, and Toby Butler, as I said, got his lap back. We were set for a restart there, but the lights have come back on top of the pace truck. Looks to me like the guys had a little bit of trouble getting lined up there. So the flagman and the NASCAR officials will get them back in shape. And they're giving the 1 to go right now. Yep, lights are back out on the caution truck. And I'm going to owe about $50 after we get through here tonight. I've said car too many times.
I'm going to tell you, it's been a hard habit for me to get out of. Our little glass jar is full up here.
But we do have 10 trucks on the lead lap, so, or maybe 11, I guess. No, 11 trucks on the lead lap. In 11th place would be Ron Hornaday, who just got his lap back on that last caution flag. So we'll see if Butch Miller can get off to a little better start than he did. Right now on the underneath though is Joe Ruttman. Another guy wants to get his lap back. Ruttman's been awfully fast. Great start by Butch Miller that time, but Ruttman comes roaring in and hits Miller, goes up on the side of him and straightens him out.
I got a feeling NASCAR may break the penalty box back out there.
Yeah, they have so far in that incident. Boy, it's been a day for that where the leader's been getting clobbered. Happened in the Busch Grand National race today at Hickory, North Carolina.
Well, you get the guys up there on the inside line that's so hungry to get their lap back, and so sometimes they just overextend themselves.
Yep, and that put Ken Schrader into the lead. Remember, he was put at the rear of the field on about lap 10 or 12. Now he has come all the way through the field, leading the race. Action back in the pack there. You see Kerry Teague, and there's the leader, Schrader, running a little bit higher line than what we've seen so far tonight.
I'm sure he's going to search around and find out what the best groove he can run with having a lead like that.
Let's take a look at what happened on that restart. As you're going down into turn 1, you see Miller has already cleared Ruttman, but Ruttman comes flying in on the inside. Miller thought he's cleared. Contact is made. Look how high Ruttman's truck goes. But watch Miller get straightened out now. He spun him and it's straightened out. Now he just has to wait and catch a gear, get started again. You see Schrader right there coming at you, moving into first, and Jeff Bodine, truck number 7, took over second. Bill Sedgwick right now giving him some heat, trying to take that second position away. He put a nose up under him.
And the word is the 84 truck has been black flagged and sent to the garage area to the penalty box.
That's not real surprising, is it?
The full moon's kicked in again.
For everybody, not just for us, but for everybody on the racetrack. Jeff Bodine seems to be moving out a little bit more to center of the corner, and that's giving Bill Sedgwick, the number 75 truck, a little bit of room to try to slip underneath him there. You can see the battle is for second and third. Right behind him, truck number 06, Butch Gilliland. Awfully good run for Butch Gilliland. I've watched him in the Winter Heat Series that we did from Tucson. Very smooth, very capable young driver. And there's Jerry Churchill, truck number 88. Looks like he just had a close call, finally going back up to speed again, nearly spun the truck.
Looks like he's saying, hey guys, let me back in there.
Not much room, sorry Jerry. Ken Schrader continues to lead. He's got a pretty comfortable lead right now. Got 47 more laps to go. See the field coming by you now. There's Bodine second, Sedgwick third, Butch Gilliland fourth. And look who's in fifth. Back up to fifth now would be truck number 3, Mike Skinner, just out of the picture behind Bodine, Sedgwick, and Gilliland. There's the lap truck of Churchill, and the black truck there is Mike Skinner, has moved back to 5th after that spin. He didn't even fall out of the top 10, Larry, when he spun.
He really did, but I'm going to tell you, Glenn, he's got his work cut out for him because he's sitting in 5th, but he's got 4 tough trucks sitting up there in front of him.
You know, you'd think as you watch him work traffic there that the one thing he needs is a caution flag, but that's not going to be any good because the lap truck is right up under him, and he's going to have to work back by him again. So I'm sure that if he's got a chance, it's going to have to be done under green flag racing.
I think a lot of these guys are in that position. The more strung out that they can get right now, not have to deal with the lap traffic, the better chance they have. And we've got caution over in turn 1 and 2. Caution's not out.
The caution just now flew, Larry. You're exactly right. And Skinner almost hits. Walker Evans has come to a dead stop. He spun down there, and Mike Skinner came in a little hot. Almost got into him, but fortunately, no further damage there. You see Walker Evans trying to refire the truck. So once again, we've got caution on the speedway. We'll take a break, come back and see if we can finish this thing up. 158 laps, only 42 to go. We'll be back, try to finish this race right after this message. And we're back at Saugus Speedway getting ready for another restart. NASCAR Super Truck Series by Craftsman. The field is being brought around by the pace truck. Now you can see Joe Ruttman's truck there. If we can get a look at the outside, look at the damage to the right side of the truck. Look at the hole right in front of the 4 there. All that was caused when he got together with leader Butch Miller trying to get his lap back. Now Butch has since fallen back to 6th. You know, before that incident, these guys worked pretty closely together, Ralph.
Not anymore, Glenn. When that incident happened, Gary Showalter, crew chief for Butch Miller, turned to me and he said, "Man, we're on the same team. What's he thinking?" Obviously, there's no teamwork within inside the manufacturers in NASCAR Super Truck Series.
Well, I'm sure that that they'll sit down as a team and sort things out once this is over. But a bad break for Butch Miller. He fell, like I said, all the way back to 6th. And getting down in the closing laps on the restart here. Miller back to 6th. Going to be tough to work through that traffic. Ruttman beats Schrader. Schrader didn't want to mess with him. Also, Jeff Bodine ducks to the inside and makes a bid for the lead. You see Bodine in the black and blue and pink Exide Batteries truck, and he's going to take the lead from Schrader, looks like. And Schrader comes back strong on the outside as they go into turn 1. Good race for the lead right here. Jeff Bodine, Ken Schrader, 2 Winston Cup veterans putting on quite a show.
You know, Glenn, they're just getting themselves in tune for that 500 lap event at Martinsville next week. It's just kind of a duplication of what's to come, I'm sure.
Well, ask them what they both were doing here. Said, man, we came up here to practice for Martinsville. There's not a better place in the world than here. There's Troy Beebe, truck number 89. He's had a spin. That's too bad. Troy was all the way up in the 6th position, but now he's falling back into the rear of the field. So a tough break for Troy Beebe there. And Ken Schrader held off that challenge of Jeff Bodine.
Bill Cedric trying to get his nose up under Jeff Bodine there. Cedric, he keeps coming on his guys right now. There he is again, running that low groove, trying to root Bodine out of the way.
You know, Larry, that observation you made that they didn't have to change much on the truck may have been right. He's well satisfied with it. This may be why. He's just now starting to show his hand. Cedric has always been real cagey, real cool. Wait till the last opportunity that he can. He's not going to abuse the truck early. He's one of the few trucks out there doesn't have the thing beaten up.
I'm going to tell you, he's trying to pass one of the best in the business. Jeff Bodine, I'm sure, has a way of making that truck seem like it's about 2 truck wide, but Cedric just keeps working on him. Right there in the center of the corner seems where Cedric holds an advantage.
You know, a while ago, that was where Bodine was making up his time when Mike Skinner was leading. Let's go back to Ralph.
Glenn, they actually did make quite a few changes to Cedric's truck, and they loosened the truck up. He was complaining that it was too tight. But the crew kept their cards very close to their chest and didn't want to say exactly what it was they did because they had an ace up their sleeve for the closing laps. And it looks like that's being played out now.
Bodine put a little bit of distance on Cedric, but he better look in his rearview mirror because watch coming right there. That black number 3 driven by Mike Skinner. You can see him now. He's up to 4th, getting ready to put the heat on Cedric for 3rd place. Skinner is on a mission.
I tell you, he really is working his way forward, and obviously they must have made the right change on the 3 truck. I believe this racetrack is getting tighter and tighter as the night goes on and the temperatures cool down.
You know, I never thought it would get that tight with all the speedy dry and oil dry that they had to put down earlier. And there also is Ron Hornaday trying to take a position from Toby Butler. Hornaday in 16, Butler in the yellow and green, number 21. we've got Toby Butler running 7th and Hornaday 8th. It looks like that's quite a battle going on for that position. We'll double check the position right there. Meanwhile, back up front, Skinner putting the heat on Sedgwick still. A lot of traffic that the leaders are moving into right now. This could really be the ultimate trump card for somebody, depending on how they can get through that traffic. Schrader clears number 88, Jerry Churchill, without too much trouble, as does Jeff Bodine.
I'm sure Jeff's sitting there thinking, go ahead, Ken, you passed the lap car in the wrong place, and I'm going to be right there taking this lead over.
And Larry, for those people who are wondering what is the wrong place to catch that lap car?
Probably right in the center of the corner. You know, if the guy you're racing can get his bumper right up on the lap car and keep you rooted out to the high groove, then that's probably the worst place that you can catch it, is right in the center of the corner here at Saugus.
And as the leader, you can kind of control that because you've got the field behind you. It's tough for them to get under you. And sometimes you don't have any control right now when they're in heavy traffic. You see Skinner, he's wanting to make a move on Sedgwick. Way down to the inside he goes. Sedgwick's able to pull him.
You know, sometimes when you are leading a car, you can dictate it by slowing the speed down, slowing the entrance of the corner down. And unless they're just a bunch faster than you, they're not going to get by you, even if you slow it down to pass that lap car in the right place.
Wow, look at Skinner. He's got the nose stuck right up under Sedgwick as they go through turns 1 and 2. Those trucks look like they're tied together with a rope. Trying to get around Troy Beebe. And remember, Beebe is still in the lead lap. He had that spin. They're trying to put him one lap down. They're having a heck of a time doing it. Beebe's truck's still pretty fast, and he's going to cause a mix-up for the lead there. You saw Schrader get a little sideways off the corner. Bodine stuck his nose up under him, but he just couldn't do anything with it.
And I'm going to tell you, you see right there in the picture back there coming off 4, Butch Miller, he's catching this front 4 while they're up here trying to get by Troy Beebe. So we just about has got us a 5-truck race here.
And you see Schrader move to the inside of Beebe and was able to make the pass. That's where you just about have to do it. And here comes Beebe back trying to put him on the inside. And in the meantime, this is holding up Jeff Bodine in second and allowing Schrader to pull away. You see Sedgwick there trying to force his way to the inside, but there's just no room.
Well, you know, you'd probably wonder why when the leader would go by him, why would he try to hold the second, third place car? But what's to say, like happened a while ago, when the leader himself had trouble, and that puts him back on the lead lap.
And Troy ran an awfully good race. I think now that he has decided to let those guys go, let them get on with their racing since the leader, Ken Schrader, got so far away from him. There you see Jeff Bodine, followed by Bill Sedgwick, Mike Skinner. That's second, third, fourth. Butch Miller is 5th. And you see Ken Schrader out front by about 10, 12 car lengths. There is Schrader out all by himself. He has cleared the lap traffic, at least for the time being. So he's got clear racetrack ahead of him, at least for the next few laps.
I tell you what, Glenn, we're getting down close to that 15 to go mark, so somebody's going to have to make the move here soon.
Yeah, there's not much time left, and I know Mike Skinner is wanting to get back up front. Look how hard Skinner's been running the truck, Larry.
Well, you know, the guys now, they know they got 15 to go, and it's like they can lean on everything a little bit. The brakes, maybe the way they work traffic, they're just going to have to lean on it now if they're going to make something happen.
Doesn't matter if they work those rotors right now, does it?
It really don't. You know, it's all on the line right here.
And the battle continues. There's the third place truck, Bill Sedgwick, 4th, Mike Skinner, and 5th, Butch Miller, who was leading a while ago until that tangle with Joe Ruttman on the restart.
You know, I'm not so sure that Skinner and Butch Miller aren't faster than Sedgwick, but like we said, Sedgwick's running a perfect line, and those guys just cannot get by him.
Well, there's not a whole lot of time left to pass him cleanly. It'll be interesting to see once we get down to the last few laps. We're getting close to 10 to go now. You just saw the 15 to go. Let's go back down to Ralph Shaheen in the pits.
Glenn, crew chief Rich Burgess has confirmed that the brake pedal is getting a little soft on Mike Skinner, so it doesn't exactly have the feel that he had early on in the race. He also said that they're running everything they possibly can at the leaders right now. None of these trucks are saving anything.
Field has just been given the 10 to go, so if he's going to make a move, he better do it quick. He's pulled up on the back bumper of Sedgwick as Sedgwick moves around the red and yellow number 51 of Gary Teague and around Jerry Churchill. They go putting another lap on Churchill.
There's Schrader. Got a little bit of lap traffic up in front of him, but probably, as contrary to what we said a while ago, Jeff Bodine wants a caution flag right now. He wants to get that truck back up on Ken Schrader.
Yeah, once Schrader cleared that traffic earlier and pulled away, they have not been able to make any inroads at all on the lead that he built up while the rest of those trucks had to fight that traffic. I think right now, barring something unforeseen, that Schrader's got it pretty well in hand. The battle's going to be for second place, which right now is Jeff Bodine, number 7. Sedgwick is third at 75. Ooh, Skinner got in the corner a little hot and let Butch Miller get under and try to take the 4th position from him.
I tell you, the brakes may be giving Skinner a real problem here right now.
Yeah, that's why he got in so hot. But luckily, Skinner ran up on a lap truck there and was able to force Butch in behind it. 8 laps to go. I don't know if Skinner can hold him off or not. I believe his brakes are about gone, Larry.
Yeah, once they start to fade, a lot of times you can't never get them back.
Yeah, he's really having trouble getting into the corner, and Butch Miller has taken over the 4th position, moving Mike Skinner back to 5th.
Probably about all Mike can do here is just kind of ride around and make sure he finishes this thing and does have a little bit of brake to be able to stop there in case a problem happens.
And meanwhile, Ken Schrader having a little bit of trouble with number 37, Bob Strait, hasn't been able to get by him, and it has allowed Jeff Bodine, you can see him come into the picture there, he has really cut that lead in more than into half. He's moved almost up onto the back bumper of Schrader. Schrader having a tough time, only 5 to go, but man, he didn't want to see that.
I think Schrader's really being smart here. He's making sure that he don't get himself in trouble with lap trucks and just trying to, again, to run a good groove and make sure he keeps the full picture of that 7 truck in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, and how many times have we heard, Larry, as Jeff Bodine clears the lap traffic, Sedgwick right on his bumper, that catching a guy is one thing, passing him is another.
Again, this has more or less been a one-groove racetrack tonight, and you really got to be a bunch faster than the truck in front of you to get by him, even though you can catch him in a hurry.
Schrader now, once he's cleared the traffic, has put a little bit more distance on Bodine and Sedgwick. Sedgwick still trying to take 2nd place. He's comfortably in 3rd now. You can see Butch Miller truck between Sedgwick and Miller. So Miller back and forth. Mike Skinner still hanging on to 5th position. Ron Hornaday has moved up to 6th. Butch Gilliland is 7th. Toby Butler would be 8th. Rick Corelli 9th. See Schrader once again moving through the traffic, and man, he's really putting the distance on him now.
He should get the checkered flag this time. We're on the white flag lap.
And Ken Schrader comes by. Checkered flag has waved. Ken Schrader has won. Jeff Bodine 2nd. We'll be back to talk to the winner, get his thoughts right after this break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Ken Schrader, the winner. Well, it's all over here now, but the shouting. Ken Schrader has come home first, followed by Jeff Bodine 2nd, Bill Sedgwick, Butch Miller, Mike Skinner in 5th, Ron Hornaday, Butch Gilliland, Toby Butler, Rick Corelli, and Bob Strait, the first truck 1 lap down. Let's go down to Ralph with Ken Schrader.
Well, the one thing you don't want to do is get you angry, because you got the bit in your teeth today and you went after him.
Well, that's part PJ, but, you know, he knocked us out of the way first, so I thought, well, we're going to get this stuff straight right off the bat. So, you know, your car was good. Timmy and the boys did a good job on the car.
Kenny Schrader gets a win at Saugus Speedway in Santa Clarita.
And we get $2 from Ken Schrader calling it a car. Great run by Ken Schrader, coming back through the pack, taking the victory. Great evening here at Saugus Speedway.
You know, Glenn, I believe.
For Larry McReynolds, I'm Glenn Jarrett. Appreciate you folks being with us. We'll be back again soon for more Super Truck action. Ken Schrader once again victorious in the Craftsman 200 from Saugus Speedway. Thanks for joining us here. Stay tuned to TNN for more exciting action.